In the beginning, I started my roleplay journey on a dating site called Airg, mostly known as Boost Hook, in the year 2005, which was the time I started. I was on bed rest from a gunshot injury, couldn't walk. All I had was my phone as a means of gaming entertainment. 2006. Browsing around this dating site looking for women, I ran into a user room called Dragon's Isle, or something like that, and I met a girl by the name of Girl Jedi Knight. She told me about the text-based roleplay fighting system and encouraged me to join, so I did. Before I came, I was into drawing comics and writing fight scenes, so when she told me this, I was determined to be the best, wanted to be the best roleplay fighter that ever lived, with such a thorn still in my heart today. And so I created a character to begin. Alex X Zero was his name, and fighting was his game. I created it however I wanted and roleplay however I wanted, until I was notified that I was doing everything wrong. So I was taught the basics, the same basics you see me teach today. 2007. I joined the home there and began my new and improved journey with the basics that was taught to me, meeting new people and role-playing with others. However, soon after, I was attacked by someone. I was in a room under a tent, and a character attacked me by sending something across the ground after lifting the tent. I made a post with a question mark to imply, how did the person know I was laying on the ground if they couldn't see through the tent? He said I couldn't use question marks in fighting. Being somewhat new at this time, I still didn't believe him, because on his part, it was obvious that he assumed I was laying on the ground. But now, being more aware, I know that it was bad on my part for not stating how I knew I was about to be attacked. Knowing that I was cheated and also picked on for being new, I was determined to have my revenge to be sure that no one would ever try that again. Training hard, I lay low and observed, seeing what people did and seeing myself in that predicament. So if someone tried it on me, I already knew, I would already have the experience and know exactly what to do when it was my turn. I studied everyone's profile, which was mostly D&D, and seeing some people with anti-this and that, I decided to do the same, have an anti-this and that against the materials the majority of people had. So when I fought, none of their items would affect me. Swords would corrode and armors would break. Speed would become normal and strength would be equally matched, leaving no handicap. Strictly fighting on how well you can actually fight. 2008. At this time, I had created my own kingdom, but that's another story. I was now ready to hold my own, prepare myself to engage in battle. I do not remember who my first real fight was with, but I do remember the outcome of it. So as I finished the fight, confident that I won, the judges asked, "Who do you think won?" "What?" I exclaimed. "What do you mean, think? The logic is plain and simple. There is no need to think or vote. The logic in the fight gives the verdict itself." They said things like, "Roleplay is not a science project," and "You noob, fantasy not supposed to be scientific," proving that they had no idea what I was talking about. I guess them not being used to the type of understanding or style of fighting or way of thinking I use, they didn't even attempt to pay attention to the logic that would give the verdict that I thought was going to be possible. Instead, which I now see, they were more invested in the art and creativity of the character, plot, and overall fighting scene. It wasn't a competition on who can kill who, but on who could enjoy the art of roleplay while doing so. Blind to this newfound understanding, I was furious, and my revenge and strive to be the best grew even stronger. I began to train even harder, writing down random attacks, cutting them out and putting them into a hat, and defending and countering whatever one I picked out. I began to get deeper into having precise data for each moment in time, plain and simple, so that no one could have an excuse or reason to vote for a winner. All things would be stated and documented from beginning to end. preparing to show everyone a new way of fighting that was fair and just. I continue to observe fights, now focusing on the areas where I can use science and use it for my advantage. I began to do research on atoms and molecules, seeing how we also use elemental manipulation to fight with. Now, that too will also be in scientific form, leaving no room for excuses. 2009. One day I was watching people fight, and after training under the way of science, I noticed something odd. Every punch and kick seemed to be moving at the same speed every time for both parties. They were attacking, showing what type of speed and force they were using, but they weren't actually given the actual measurement for speed, force, or effort for the attack. Instead, every attack seemed spontaneous without displaying any notion of potential energy, giving no notion of space-time. An example, being a vampire, I punch at you with vampire force and speed. Now being a human, I say I punch at you with human force and speed. With these examples, therefore, how can anyone differentiate the speed of a hook in order to give the opponent a fair and equal opportunity to block however they choose? An example, it could be a light hook, which I will raise my arm up to block, or a hook with full force, which is almost like a haymaker, which I could see coming from a mile away to duck under it. If there is no level of effort being stated, how could the opponent fairly move his or her character without dictating the moment because of the restriction? Now with this newfound discovery, I was 100% sure that everyone was fighting wrong. I was now 100% positive that no one could face me. Seeing how these new laws opened a new window of documented measurements, granting more freedom and control of my character, innovated the concept of space-time, I virtually became one with the system. But with my revenge and strive to be the best, still boiling, training and fighting was all I focused on. With this new instilled concept of space-time, emulated by what I now call the laws of exertion, I began to find loopholes in the system, not breaking the rules, but fulfilling them with this newfound discovery. Here are some of the rules. No healing during battle. No summoning weapons. No disappearing. No speed faster than sound. No energy projectiles. And no free flying, just to name the main ones. With the laws of exertion now available, one can now see the time and energy it took to heal, making it possible for interruptions. To manipulate elements to form a weapon, aka summoning. To use chi in a projectile form, and understanding the dynamics of quantum and metaphysics to be able to disappear and move faster than the speed of sound. With all this knowledge and understanding and power, I was on my way to becoming a virtual god, being able to legitimately simulate any realistic thing with the logic to back it up without autoing in God mode. 2010. By this time, I've been running around fighting everyone I could to prove to them that I was the best and that my way was the correct and accurate way to fight. Everyone who looked down on me, who said that I was a newbie and fighting wrong, I engaged in a battle with them. But I did not attack them like the one person attacked me when I first came. Instead, I called them out to make sure that everyone was about to witness their death in a logical and realistic way, leaving no room for excuses. These were the people who hung in groups and terrorized the innocent. So when I called them out, they called their people to gang up on me while I was standing alone. But I only cared about proving them wrong and not about what the crowd said. Even though I spoke of frustration and relentless anger, even though most people hated me because of my boastful and egotistical attitude, which was only towards the people I rivaled with, a small number of people heard my words and understood where I was coming from. And over time, that brought enough peace for me to retire from trying to get people to understand me, and I began focusing on the people who already did. 2011. And so I retired from fighting to show that my way was better, now teaching others and inspiring them to see what they wanted. This is when I made Zen, and I gave him white hair for that reason. Here, I stopped worrying about what others claimed as God mode and illegal, focusing on making all things possible with science, facts and theories to back it up without autoing or god molding. I created the character I wanted with the powers I wanted him to have, still keeping the traditions of autoing and god molding, but innovating the laws of exertion into them. This allowed me to create a whole new system, not getting rid of the old one, but fulfilling it, thus building a new way on top of the old one, creating a new covenant of roleplay fighting. Now teaching people, I knew I had to find a way to train all types of people, no matter what level they were on. Seeing how I opened the door to this new covenant open since create seems a bit too prideful, I felt it rightful to take full charge and responsibility for the fighting system that I was about to offer. 2012. And so, I created an unofficial roleplay fighting training manual that teaches participants the art of roleplay fighting the same way I taught myself, from the basics all the way to the physics of their heart's content. Even though it sounded like things were going according to plan, it wasn't. Even though the majority of people began to follow this new way, just like I hoped for, they began using and abusing it, doing exactly to others what they did to me when I first came. However, this time, it was reinforced with science and theories, causing the people involved to generate their own science and theories. And not only so, but also forcing them on others and proclaiming death on the people that they fought, taking advantage of the concept of interruption and taking a win on any mistake they could find when it benefited them. 2013. This caused the way of fighting to be a path no one wanted to take, making it nearly impossible to learn for anyone wanted to join, picking on the noobs and not teaching them as what should have been done. Also, being stuck up to the ones who were there before them, causing this new rise of people to be deemed as ones without honor. This made it hard and a waste of time to find happiness and joy in the art of fighting, for it became a race for power and control, wanting to be the best with no one to tell them no, desiring to show off their skills to anyone who tested them. Just like me when I first discovered this new understanding, witnessing the world full of myself. 2014. When I noticed this, I realized that I became a father, giving birth to children who were just like me, trying to prove themselves worthy with the help of this newfound power. And seeing the path that I went through, I knew exactly where this was leading to, a one-way ticket to destruction, with such a father like me being a mentor toward their moral standards. 2015. And so, I decided to leave Zen and begin my mission on another name, Kasuja, which was made subconsciously as a precursor for this particular moment, greeting what was seen from afar without seeing the entirety of it. In other words, walking by faith and not by sight. I knew that in order for people to see honor in being weak, or taking the fall, or just not being good enough, in order to be encouraged to keep trying, never give up, an example, a standard for such desire had to be set. This will allow the newcomers to feel homey and worth the space when participating in roleplay. Even though they may not have been great like others, they will still feel respected and valuable in the community. The only way for all people, high and low, to see honor and weakness, they needed to witness the strongest self find honor in weakness, for the exalted one to humble himself, so that the humble may be exalted, the unbeatable to find peace and contentment in being defeated, the one who created it all to find spirit and truth when all is destroyed. That person was me. 2016. And so, I've started my ministry, teaching people about the spirit of roleplay, which is the spirit that allows roleplay to exist, even though every measurement in detail, every point in time, may not be documented. It also extends the laws of auto and god mode into the world of metagaming, sealing the edges of a roleplay fight from beginning to end, leaving absolutely no room for dictation, even if both parties are in a disagreement. For both parties are in agreement to begin the fight the same way, both parties must also agree to end the fight with the same level of agreement. If not, the outcome on either side will be in auto and God mode, because the story, the roleplay fight, will be incomplete and otherwise a forgery. By not condemning someone to death and encouraging them to see their mistakes in a humble manner brings mercy into the virtual world and strength to the ones who are weak, encouraging them to never give up. And those who face death will find honor and purpose in accepting their death and loss, role-playing their death, which seldom people do, and complimenting the moment of being able to detail a nice death scene, something the opponent would or could never do, and what roleplay is truly missing. For the one who can roleplay, who can roleplay life and roleplay death, will be complete in nature and perfect in all experiences. A true role player, a true warrior, a true hero, a savior, restoring life to what was dead by the death in which makes life worth living. So instead of role-playing for one's own self-pleasure, one will be role-playing for the enjoyment of others, so they too can find comfort and welcome, and also role-playing for the sake of role-playing, which is done by, through, and for the spirit of roleplay, which also dwells within us. To present day. During this mission, my names were hacked for unknown, made-up reasons, and I was forced to take a break. I got a call from someone to help with their guild, but it proved to be just another merciless scheme cultivated by an evil and hardened heart fallen to ruins. Now, I write this letter to spread the knowledge of my history, the training method of the way, and a new way of thinking and believing, according to the understanding of roleplay fighting. Roleplay is more than an art, it's a lifestyle.